continue with our program. I just want to say good morning again and thank you for joining us. We're moving into our entrepreneur panel. Now, entrepreneurship has always been the American dream, and more entrepreneurs of color are responding to the needs of their own market and people. And we have called together an esteemed panel of entrepreneurs to talk about their experiences, their successes, and their challenges. So we have Siamanda Chege, a former fashion model and CEO of Bebe Ravi, which is a designer baby clothes company. We have Karen Mitchell, who is the founder of True Indian Hair. We have Debra Hare-Bey, celebrity stylist and founder of the Omhh Store. And Fred Muanga Guhanga, the founder and CEO of MediaTakeout, a top urban entertainment sites. Welcome to coming this morning. Yeah, still morning, right? Thank you so much for being here. So first, we're just going to start right here at the top of the panel. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your company.
Again, I'm Siamanda Chege, and I founded a company called Bebe Ravi Collection, which is a high-end children knits that is all handmade in Kenya. But we bring all the yarns from Italy, and we make all the designs here in the US. And we also started an orphanage at the community as well, which is Chege Orphanage, which is a safe haven for children orphaned by the HIV/AIDS.
Wonderful.
Hi, my name is Karen Mitchell, and I am the founder and owner of True Indian Hair. And True Indian Hair is a hair extension company. It's solely owned by myself, which was pretty rare for a minority woman to own a hair extension company. Started this 10 years ago, and it's grown into a huge business for me. I have 3 stores right now and a website, and working on a 4th store in LA. So it's a growing business, and I'm just happy to be here.
My name is Fred Muanga. I started MediaTakeout.com just about 7 years ago. Before that, I was an attorney, and I got a JD and MBA, so I was basically primed to go to Wall Street. And I went there for 4 years. Had a great time there, but realized that entrepreneurship is something that I've always wanted. And when the opportunity arose, I snatched it. I started a laundry service to start. 2 years into it, I sold the business and started MediaTakeout, which is, I guess, dealing in dirty laundry. It's been incredibly successful. It's grown from, just a couple of readers to last month we had close to 17 million people on the site. Of those 17 million people, just under half of them are African American women. The incredible thing about it, when you think about it, is when you break down the demographics, you look at it, just about 4 out of 10 African American women with access to the internet was on MediaTakeout last month. So, that kind of reach and that kind of reach to a specifically targeted group is almost unheard of on the internet. You'd have to look to places like Google or Facebook to kind of get that level of reach to African American women. So that's something that I think we're all really proud of at MediaTakeout.
I'm one of the MediaTakeout ladies. You're welcome. Hello everyone, my name is Debra Hare-Bey. I'm the CEO and brand manager of Omhh Inc. It's a glamorously natural lifestyle brand. We carry a plethora of hair care and body care. We call it a foundational line, and it is natural, vegan, and organic for your hair and skin.
Wonderful. All right, we're going to get right into it. So obviously, like I said at the top of your introduction, these companies are marketing to our market, multicultural market, and to our own people. What inspired you to actually start the company that speaks to that market?
I'll take that. Very clearly first of all, I've been in hair care for over 25 years. Sitting here, I'm about 100 years old, so that's been some time. So having been in natural hair care as a chosen profession, the next step is, of course, to have a product. And so that's what I set out to do. And in designing that product, I wanted to service people that look just like me. And I very clearly wanted to do that because I felt like growing up, there were no products that spoke directly to me. So I wanted to be that vehicle and venue to offer a quality product for those women and men and families that look like me.
I think with me it was a little more of a roundabout way. I always, you know, in the back of my mind in some sort, I always wanted to run a business that included, was targeting African American consumers, but it wasn't something that I kind of went out to actively do. When we started our laundry service, we actually took steps to make it so that you couldn't tell by just looking at the laundry service who was running it, if it was an African American running it or whoever. It was run by me and my wife, who's African American at the time. And I think we did that because we always thought that, oh, if we're seen as a black business, people will somehow see us as being inferior. And you know, while we did press and stuff like that, you couldn't go to the site and actually tell. And we actually realized that that was the wrong step to take. After we got a ton of press. We got press at Daily Candy, we got Vogue wrote about us, New York Post, New York Daily News. So we got a ton of press on that. And a lot of it was, you know, every time you get a press piece, people would call you up and say, hey, I saw your company on the news, or I read about you in the paper. But I can tell you that the biggest, the press that moved the needle the most was when we were written about in Black Enterprise. Because that's when, I mean, we were written up in the New York Post, or even in Vogue, you got like people calling you. When we were written up in Black Enterprise, like somebody you went to kindergarten with called you up and was like, yo, Fred, I heard you know, you're running a company, I want to invest, I want to put money into it. And that's when it was almost like a light bulb moment that me and my wife had, which was that, you know, here we are going out there and trying to not be a black-owned company. But then when black folks realized we were a black-owned company, the amount of love and the amount of support that we received was so great that I was like, well, why are we running from this, right? But here we have a group of people that actually want to support us, that actually want us to run a great company, that want to use our service, and we're trying to run from them. We just kind of made the switch. I think at that point we were already pretty close to selling the company. But then when I ran MediaTakeout, I mean, my mind was completely open to the idea, and in fact, that's something that I wanted to do. It's something that I want to do personally, and it made a lot of financial sense too.
Great. For me, I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. That was just something since I was a teenager. I just wanted to own my own business. I worked in fashion for 10 years prior to owning my business. And while working 9 to 5, I started investing. I invested in a beauty salon that failed, and I invested in a small beauty supply store that failed. And I saw that there was this lack of ownership for black women, and I've always been into hair. I'm also a licensed cosmetologist. I got my license while working 9 to 5. So, you know, this was just something that I gravitated towards. And I just, you know, I would go to the beauty supply stores and get hair, and just saw that there were no real black-owned hair companies that were around. This is 12 years ago or so. And while working in fashion, I got to travel to India to visit factories there related to fashion. And in doing so, I started to become more and more interested in the virgin hair, the Indian hair market, and saw that there was actually room for me as a minority woman to actually enter and be a part of it. And at first, it was more of a hustle. I called it a hustle. You know, it was selling small amounts to friends and family, and just getting a feel for it. And then, like you said, I got featured by Vixen, and that just took off. I started getting calls from around the country. And at that time, I was in a small barbershop in Brooklyn, in the showcase in the corner. And I'm getting calls from around the country for hair, and people are thinking this huge company. And that just kind of, a light bulb went off, like, this could be something. I could take this somewhere. And that's when I really started pushing, and I ended up losing my job. I lost my job in fashion, got laid off, and decided just gonna go just full force into this hair business. And I cashed in my 401k, which was scary. But I took it all out, invested in my business, and opened the first flagship store in Brooklyn. And it's grown so much since then. It's grown a whole lot since then, and I'm so glad I got laid off, because I don't think if I hadn't gotten laid off, I would never really put that energy and just put 100% into it and
Well, for me, it started sort of by accident. It was with motherhood. I went to Kenya after I had my first daughter, and I just felt really overwhelmed because the women had such little options in terms of jobs, and there was so much AIDS, and so I thought I needed to do something about it. I felt the pain for that woman who had children and could not be able to feed them, and I had a background in fashion, and I knew beautiful things, and I had a lot of friends here in America, so I thought, why not start a really luxurious line that can give these women a sustainable way of income so that they can be able to feed their children. And so we just started small. I went to Italy, and I bought some very fine yarns and designed a few pieces, and the women sat on the floor, and they made these pieces together. And when I came back to the US and I went to big stores, I went to Barney's and I went to ABC Home, and they were very supportive of the story and the knits and what the women were doing. So that's how it started, slowly by just one shop, and then we started doing, internationally. We have stores in Australia and Japan. We have over 100 women that come to work every day, each woman averaging about 5 children, which means we're about, all these children are being able to go to school and basically alleviating that cycle of poverty, because when these children will never be in the positions their parents are. We have a lot of problems in Africa, like in the villages, because there were these women, they have no education, and there really are no options for employment. So this has been really amazing for our people and the support that we've had here.
Thank you so much. Karen, I'm going to go to you, and I want to ask you, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced starting your company, especially in the hair, in the field of hair, where a lot of the companies seem to be owned by Asian companies? So
yes, before I ventured into what we call the virgin hair market. I had a beauty supply store, and that was a push for me, and I was working at the time as well, but I could not get to, they would not sell, basically the Asian market companies would not sell the hair extensions to me. And I was warned about this prior to that. I was warned by my mentor that you're not going to get the good hair extension. They're going to tell you that there's someone in your neighborhood that already selling to you and they can't sell to you. So I just was not able to really open that door at all. And that's why when I had a chance to enter the Indian hair market, which was, it's a much more open market for pretty much anyone to get in. It's about the financial resource, and that was my biggest challenge. But as far as the what's called the beauty supply package hair that's normally owned by the Asian companies, that door is usually closed and still is to this day for us to get into. So entering into the Indian extensions virgin hair was easier for me, so it's more of a financial, getting the financial backing and raising the money. And then as a woman, that's the only, traveling to India, because after I started, I had to travel back and forth a few times to India, and just being able to sit at the table with men and discuss, my business plans and getting the right product, and that's still a challenge. And so, but that was the challenge then, and it's still a challenge now, but because my company is growing so much, it's gotten much easier.
It's wonderful. Brett, I'm going to go to you next. I wanted you to explain how the market is lacking when it comes to presenting entertainment news to the Black consumer, and is that one of the reasons that you were inspired to start MediaTakeout?
Yeah, I mean, I think now it's a lot less lacking than it was at the time. I mean, when we first started MediaTakeout, there were a ton of blogs that talked about entertainment news, but there really weren't any blogs of note that talked about primarily African American or urban news. There was us, it was Concrete Loop, but we were all really, really small. I mean, I had like 100 people reading it, and maybe Concrete Loop had 1,000 or something like that. So it really wasn't, the vast majority of people were not going on these sites. The vast majority of people didn't even know that these sites existed when we first started. And, at the time, people were kind of like, I remember, people telling me when I came out and said, well, I'm starting up this website, and we're going to talk about African American celebrity news. People were saying, well, do Black people even go on the internet? Right? This is the thought process that was going on in a lot of people's minds. And these are people that large companies, right? All the data said that clearly we were on the internet just like everyone else. In fact, in large parts more so, and that's the case now. When you look at African Americans and their adoption towards things like smartphones, we outperform the rest of America. So, I saw the writing on the wall that it was here, but there really weren't a lot of places that were talking specifically about African American celebrity news. There were the traditional places, but even then, I mean, to give you an example, when we started when I started MediaTakeout, Essence didn't even have a website. Essence's website, basically, when you went on there, there was a static page, and it said, subscribe to the magazine, right? That was the extent of Essence's website. And I think BET's website at the time was like, it basically told you what was on BET. So here you are, the places where you would expect to see catering towards African American celebrity news, they certainly weren't. So the opportunity was huge there. There was this hole in the market where, places like People Magazine and TMZ and stuff like that, they just weren't covering African American celebrity news because, like I said, they didn't believe that Black people actually went on the internet, so why would they do it? And then the places that knew that Black people were on the internet, to traditional places, they didn't do it, but for other business reasons. They believed that by promoting websites and promoting more people on the websites, they would actually cannibalize their ad sales, either TV or in the magazine. So they didn't want to go and do this either. So here's this huge gulf in the market, and I saw the opportunity, and a lot of other people saw the opportunity. We came in, produced, I think, what was a good product, and the people accepted it. So that's kind of how we got into it.
Debra, I want to talk a little bit about some of the challenges that you've experienced in growing your business, but also asking, since there seems to be a big upswing in natural hair for multicultural women, how has that affected your business of bringing natural hair care to the market?
Delane, it is most challenging. Entrepreneurs know that the biggest challenge, of course, is finances. Secondly, when you are specifically targeting African Americans, sometimes it's challenging because they sometimes don't think that they deserve the product that you have. And so that posed problematic for me, simply because it is a product that they should have. In addition to that, our product offers a health aspect that is so desperately needed in our community. And so just getting that across is difficult. So what we do is, if you look at our products and if you look at our tagline, which is all about fabulous, and it sounds great, and we don't do that out of a vacuum. We do that very clearly so that people, they perk up when they hear that word. They associate to that word. And so once they do that, it's an opportunity for me to have another conversation. So here's the product, but I get to have a conversation about health. And so that is really quite awesome. Financing is probably the biggest hurdle. And you could overcome that hurdle with planning. I have been very blessed to not only have a great product, because you can have a great product and no one knows it's there, but I have a wonderful husband that helps to back the product. In addition to, again, being in the industry for so many years, I already had a following. So, you want to, if you are thinking about starting a business or a product line or hair, MediaTakeout, or even with your line, you want to establish a way to make that happen, and you definitely need the dollars and cents to do that.
Since we're talking a little bit about financing, Siamanda, obviously your product gives back to your community in Kenya. How do you get people interested in investing in your product and supporting it to support your cause back home?
For the orphanage, we do a lot of fundraising, and we tell a lot about the children and the orphans, and we bring people to Kenya. But with the clothing line, we partner with a lot of big brands. As we know right now, buyers are very conscious of where their product is being produced, so they love the story that we're actually taking care of the women that are making this product, and that they're empowering them. They're empowering these women. So the story is really what helps us sell the product, and we have a really beautiful product. So when we tell the story, people usually are able to back us up, and we usually get paid in advance before we make it, because we make samples. We don't have inventory. We go to the stores and we meet with the people and we show them samples, and if they want the product, then they have to prepay for us to be able to make the product for them. So that has helped us a lot with that.
That's wonderful. Do any of you other people on the panel have any suggestions when it comes to financing on how to be creative, when you're trying to finance a new business? Have you heard about the 401k plan?
Right, that's one way. And another way is really just trying to get an investor. If you have a great product and getting a business proposal. And I had a friend who recently did that, and she got someone to invest $80,000 into her business by backing her. So, it's if you believe in your product and you could sell that vision to someone else, that's an ideal way of getting financial backing. Outside of trying to get like a loan or something from the bank, but and friends and family. I remember when I first started before the version here, when I did the beauty supply, and I was working in fashion, and I literally went to my coworkers, and it wasn't a lot of money, but I said, I'm doing this, and I'm not asking for a loan. If you guys could actually help me by just give me what you can. And I think I got maybe $4,000 or $5,000, and just friends and family writing their checks and giving me donation towards my business. And it was small, but it was helpful at the time.
Wonderful.
So there are different means, different ways.
Yeah, I think that's she's absolutely right. This is probably the fourth business that I've been involved in, and with each time that you go through this, you learn a little bit more. The one thing I say is that most people, whenever you start a business, you don't, and I'm sure everyone else will say this, you don't budget enough. You think, I can do this whole thing for $50,000, and then you start doing it, and that only lasts you like 2 months. Or whatever. So I think it's good to come up with a realistic budget on where you think it'll go, or what do you think it'll take to get it. And then usually the rule of thumb is to triple it, right? So if you think it's going to cost you $100,000, it's really going to cost you $300,000, or you should really budget more towards $300,000. Now, where do you come up with it? You have to be creative. I think the other thing I'd say is that you really don't want to do it on your own anyway, right? Sometimes whenever people invest money into you, especially if it's early stage investing, and that's family, friends, that's people that you know, that's somebody that maybe someone in the church, they're actually going to give you more than just money usually, right? Because once they give you their money, they're not just going to give you the money and then just disappear, right? Because you could walk away from it, you could do whatever. They're usually there to offer you some kind of support too, right? So sometimes they'll be able to introduce you to other investors. Sometimes they'll be able to give you some advice, right? And it's hard enough to go at this alone. Whenever you have anyone else coming in, that just expands it and makes it, I think, a little bit easier. So I would say that you definitely don't want to do it with all your own money. Just because I think when you bring someone else in, especially a good investor, a person who's going to give you more than just money, that's always the way to start it. And then the other thing, like I said, is budgeting accordingly. And I think that's where most people, most small businesses, when they falter, that's usually where it happens.
I see things just a little bit different. As I said, I was fortunate enough to have my husband invest in the company, and my mom and my family. Now, outside sources I found problematic because there were no outside sources to go to. You would think a traditional bank, and that's generally a hurdle. They do have angel investors that, if you're fortunate enough to find one that's actually an angel investor, then it's a plus. But I found it very problematic. So I found coming up with a budget, planning, saving, and working with the products that you have so that it can continually grow the business.
I also think that's a good point too, right? What you're making is that you're trying to create a business that could begin to actually generate some revenue fairly early. And I think that's important too, right? Because at some point, I can't tell you, this is another big mistake that people do, is they spend so much time planning and coming up with big business plans and whatever else, and not, because that could take you years and years and you haven't done anything, right? You've just kind of thought about a lot of things. And, ideas get stale, business plans get stale too. So it's all, you almost want to just start doing, right? Just kind of open the doors and just go out there and see what's going on. And to your point, if you're gonna do that, then you want to, maybe it's better to start small if you can't get the kind of resources to start big. And then just kind of let the business grow and take you where it's gonna take you.
And also to touch on that, it's just always, people say often, but to have more than just plan A.
Absolutely.
You've got to have more than one options. I'm investing in a wine bar with my best friend right now, and we had a budget, and now it's $100,000 over budget. And so now, but the plan B was, if we go over budget, we have an investor in mind that's already ready to jump in. So that was the plan B, like where we might need an additional investor. So, we were hoping we would keep it within the budget, so it would just be us two. But the plan B is we might need someone else, and we did. So have more than one plan.
Just from a show of hands, how many of you on the panel had a business plan before you started your business? Okay, interesting.
I will tell you, the first time around, I did not.
Okay.
The second time around, I did.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to switch it up. I know there's a lot of challenges to starting a business, but I would love to go down the panel. We can start with Siamanda and tell me what has been your biggest success working as an entrepreneur.
For me, as a social entrepreneur, I think my biggest success has been hiring more women every year. So partnering with big designers and big stores means that we're bringing more women to work every day. So that's been my biggest success. Also, coming just from the children line, we're now doing a women's line with stores like Calypso, and we're doing wovens as well, with, which is another group, another kind of section of the women that only do that with machines, which is really amazing. So that's really been my huge success. It's just to see the company go from 2 women to 100 women doing different things.
For me, it's kind of the same. It's seeing the growth of the company. Like, I'm now starting to feel successful, and I didn't for a long time. Even though many others would look and say, "Oh my God, you're so successful." I just opened my 3rd store in Queens last summer, and the website has grown so much, and now considering opening something else in LA possibly. I'm talking about that now, but being able to, I have a few employees, and now I look back. Sometimes I don't see what people see. So I look back and I'm like, wow, I'm actually providing, jobs for people who actually take care of their households. And when I sit back and realize that, I'm providing for families, they're working for it. It's not, but I'm like, okay, I'm doing something, because you want to feel like you're not just making money and living comfortable, but you're also helping others. And in that way, I feel like I'm helping, and just seeing the growth. Like, I see the growth, and I'm like, okay, I'm successful.
Right? It's not about making money. It's not about whatever.
Yesterday.
Is it good? So, that's what, to me personally, what I get the most pleasure out of. But on the other side, it's just the opportunities that I'm starting to see unfold right now, right? It's always been kind of like you wake up, you kind of do this, you're kind of going through the grind, and sort of like what you were saying, you don't even really see anything, right? You're just so caught up in kind of all the fires that you're putting out and all the mess that you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis that you can't really see where you're going. Every once in a while, it's good to take a step back and stand up and take a look at it. But what you do see is you see real opportunity to make real change, right? Like whenever you started a business, whatever business you started it usually for a reason, right? It was usually something bigger than, I want to do this. I see an ability for this to occur, right? And, for me, it's that I see the ability for Black folks to create media, to own media, and to consume media, all the way down the line. And it's almost ridiculous. It was, when I thought about it back then, I mean, when people would, and if you were to articulate that, that's something that was absolutely seen as ridiculous. But now, especially with the internet, you're starting to see that it's feasible, it's possible, and it's actually happening. And as the site gets bigger and bigger, we're having a bigger play in making that happen. And I think that's what, to me, I think, just seeing it, seeing the idea that this could actually happen, right? The thing that we always talked about, right? When we always say, well, why can't we make this movie? Because we don't want any movie companies. But what if we did, right? What if we could create a movie ourselves and finance it ourselves and play it to ourselves and cut everybody out of it? What if and these are things that are feasible now. These are things that I think the big studios recognize are feasible. And this is stuff that, like I said, we're pushing for, and a lot of other companies like us are pushing for. So just seeing that, and seeing that these ideas that were kind of abstract and kind of crazy are actually starting to come to fruition, and we could actually help effectuate that. That, to me, I think, is the biggest.
For me, I have many successes. I mean, the fact that I was able to take an idea, something that was in my head, and have it as a tangible item. I get an opportunity each and every day to change lives. I get an opportunity to speak to men and women that may not necessarily thought that they were beautiful or felt good about themselves. And I get an opportunity through the product and through our philosophy to have people realize that. So for me, that's everything I ever dreamed of.
Wonderful. I just have one last question for the panel, and it's just, and you kind of spoke on this a little bit, but maybe to sum it up, what advice would you give to young entrepreneurs? What are some of the key characteristics you think you should have, or skills that you should have to just take that great idea in your head and make it a reality?
I'll start. Passion, for one. I don't think people understand that when you say you want to have a company, whether it is hair or media or myself product, that is something that you will do every minute of every second. It is so all-consuming. So if you don't like it or want to do it all the time, that's probably not a good idea. Secondly, a plan. It just doesn't happen out of the bottle. You have to have a plan. Third, you need the finances. And dedication. So that would be my formula for how you could start, keep it, and move forward.
I agree. I think I agree with everything that she said. I think the two biggest characteristics that you want to have is hard work, right? Because it's going to be a lot. Just like it's going to take you 3 times as much money, it's going to take you a lot more work, right? So when you hear people talk about, oh, I'm doing this on the side, I'm going to do this to make a little money on the side. That, I mean, there are people that do it. I don't understand it. I haven't met too many entrepreneurs that are successful at doing it. It's going to take you a lot of hard work and sacrifice. To give you an example, I have not taken one day off for 6 years. And I'm not talking about weekends. I work every single 365 days a week, year, Christmas, my kids were born, I worked that day. The one day I took off was my first day after I got married, I took off.
She was like, you're taking off.
One day. But every other day I've worked. So that's the kind of sacrifice that I think a lot of times people don't really see, right? And I'm not alone at this. I speak to entrepreneurs, and they all tell me the exact same thing, that they work 7 days a week, 365 days a week. It's not like I'm working every minute of every day, right? Like maybe I'm only working 2 hours or 3 hours a day, but I'm working every single day, and there's a set period of the day where I'm working every single day. So I mean, that's one thing. And the other thing, and you brought it up earlier, is flexibility, right? Because you're always thrown these punches, right? Or these opportunities come up that you never thought of, right? And a lot of times people, you get tunnel vision. You really have to be able to just kind of take it. You get a setback, accept it, and when you see an opportunity, take it too. Because you're never gonna, when you started off, you think you're getting there, and you might end up over here. you might end up a lot further along, but just on a different path. You just have to be open, I think, or flexible to see it.
I agree with both of you. It's hard work is just a huge part of it. Like you said, just always, I'm constantly thinking about the business, doing something. Later, I don't sleep. I go to bed 3, 4 in the morning, almost every night. And it's just, because if you want to maintain your success and continue to grow, you have to stay on top of it. You cannot just become comfortable.
Yeah.
You know, you can't just sit back and go, okay, I've made it and this is it, because you're still competing. You're in business, you're competing. So you have to constantly stay on top of your business, think of new ways to improve and to grow and to expand. And it's a constant, I mean, sometimes I feel like I'm literally going crazy.
Yeah.
It's I feel like and it's also not giving up. I remember before I opened my first store in Brooklyn, my family, you know, very West Indian, I'm Jamaican born, and my mom just wanted me to just get a good job. That's it. You know, it's like, don't do this. And my family was against me opening the store because my beauty supply failed and my beauty salon failed. And it was just like, why do you want to open another store? So I actually opened the third store, which is True in Hair, the first store for that brand, and didn't tell my family for 6 months. I didn't, because I did not want to hear, don't do it, because I know I want to do it. So if you believe in something, you believe in yourself, then you have to just close everything else over. If you totally believe this is going to work, don't listen to the no, it's not, because that will totally deter you from going after your dream and making it happen. So you have to stand up for what you believe in. If you believe in your product, believe in your business, just go for it. Don't give up. And doesn't mean you're gonna be successful the first time. You can fail, but it's not failure. It's learning from that and taking it and then continuing. Because like I said, the beauty salon failed, the beauty supply failed, and in cashing in my 401k, I was scared.
Well, there's a study that says that most entrepreneurs become successful on their third
time. Yeah.
The first business usually fails, second business usually fails, and then third. So if you ever, a lot of times too, you get in a business and it doesn't work out. The first business I was in, it failed miserably too. So, you just gotta kind of stick with it.
Yes, you gotta stick with it. That's really
determination. And I would also say that there are more people against you than for you.
Yeah, you have to surround yourself with the right people. If possible, get the right mentor. And you must, like all of you, agree with you about the passion part. You must love what you're doing so much that even when you fail, you just continue.
You continue because you love it so much.
Because you will fail.
Yeah.
But if you love it so much, then you'll definitely just get up again and continue. So.
Amazing. I can feel your passion for what you do, just listening to you talk about your advice and your skills for people. So I would love to open it up to the audience. If there are any questions, anybody want to ask about, anybody out there thinking about starting their own business?
I have a question. Entrepreneurism is obviously difficult for everyone. Money, finance is hard for everyone. Sort of a split question. One is, do you find it's more difficult for people of color than for others? Yes, done. Yeah. And the second part of the question is, do you think it's easier in this digital age for individuals in general to sort of rise above? Go.
I do think it's difficult for African Americans as entrepreneurs. Secondly, I think in this digital age, it makes it a little bit easier because you have the Twitter and Facebook and all of those wonderful social media pieces that you can talk about your business and start a whole conversation and, have new consumers. So I think it makes it a little bit easier where you don't necessarily need the dollars and cents.
Yeah, I agree. I think, as African American entrepreneurs, I absolutely think that it's a world of difference in terms of access to capital, in terms of just what you do and how you recognize. It's night and day. I think if you're a female entrepreneur, you probably feel it the same. So as African American female, I can only imagine. But like you said, it is the internet is making things a lot easier, right? Because there are all these barriers that prevent you from starting a business, right? One, you can't have access to capital. So to give you an example, when I started MediaTakeout, you know, as it grew from, you know, 1 person on the site to 10 people on the site to 50 people on the site, you have to upgrade your site. And because of changes in the way, in the cloud, in the way that changes in technology, the site that we have right now, if we were to try to have created it when we first started, it would probably cost well over $1 million. And that's just the back end, forgetting about the front end of the stuff. And because of technological advantages, you could probably create something similar for like $50,000. So I mean, that just shows the difference from, you know, just a couple of years it can make. When this is only in 7 years' time. So access to capital is one of our bigger problems. The fact that a lot of the costs of starting a business are coming down, I think, are large. The other, I don't know, maybe you guys have some.
Yeah, I agree that, well, the digital age right now is such a huge part of in my business, in the hair business. I see so many, you know, Instagram companies, you know, they call them, you know, there's startup companies and they're building and growing due to social media and the internet without having a brick and mortar, you know, store, without any of that. And they're actually growing now. And sometimes I feel like I'm competing against this, but I didn't have this option 10 years ago, especially with like Instagram and Twitter. So I didn't have that option. I use it now. It's a big part of my business now, but it definitely makes it easier for new companies. It does.
Yeah, I believe that digital helps. Age helps a lot because like 70% of my sales are done even before I meet the buyer. I'll email them, I have a beautiful website. And so that whole, you know, when they see me as a woman or a black woman, they've already bought the product already. I remember when I started buying yarns from Italy, and it was really, really hard just to deal with the Italians because first I was a woman, and then I was like, you know, and they had to assign somebody like a woman to deal with me to buy this yarn. So just as being black, you know, African also, and being a woman is the same problem. So the digital really does help a lot because you can just deal with them so much more way ahead before you even meet with the people that you need to deal with. Yeah.
Any other questions? Yes, in the back there. And if you want, you can come up to the mic. Yay!
Hello everyone, thanks for coming out. My name is Kimo Noel. Okay, that might help. Hello? Okay, there we go. All right, so my name is Kimo Noel. I'm an aspiring entrepreneur. I'm actually a current entrepreneur, but kind of aspiring to be successful as you guys are. And in that effort to be successful in building a business, you know, relevance is always an issue, right? As you grow and as you mature and as the market matures and changes, relevance is kind of always something that I guess you guys always keep in the back of your mind. So how do you guys individually make sure that your business stays relevant to your vision and to your market as things change?
For me, there's not anything that happens in my industry that I don't know about. And so you have to know what's happening. You have to make sure that you're reading and studying and seeing what other businesses that are like your businesses or like your business is doing. But, you know, I make sure that I know what's happening in my industry all the time. There's nothing going on that I don't know.
Right, I mean, I think that's it. I mean, you know, there's running the business, there's a day-to-day kind of going out there and producing the product or the service. That's a portion of your day. There's another portion of your day that, like she said, which is just trying to learn. So it's research, trying to figure out what's the new trends, what's the new technology, what's going on, what are my competitors doing, that kind of thing. And then there's a third thing, which is also growth, right? Which is going out there and trying new things to grow your business, right? So you might try to go in this direction or go in that direction. Most of the time that you do that, by the way, you're not going to be successful. But it's something that you have to always do because that's kind of the way that it works in the capitalist system that we're in. You have to grow, right? And growing is not just necessarily providing a better single product, but it's providing more products. It's evolving as a company. And so that's, you know, another portion of what you have to do. And that, I think if you do all three of those things, one, you know, continue to produce a good product, research and continue to know what's going on out there, and then invest in actually growing the company. That's, I think, how you remain relevant and successful.
I agree. I spend, during the day is the day-to-day running of making sure all 3 stores are performing, basically. But I go to sleep late at nights because I'm up researching, new trends, what's going on, looking at my competitor site, just everything. It's keeps, spend literally 3 to 4 hours a night just staying on top of being current. And it's important to be aware of what's you're constantly competing. Like I said, you cannot become comfortable and complacent, feeling you've made it. You have to it's always a continuous, the ladder. If you want to grow and you want to expand, you have to just stay on top of it. So.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, we have time for one more question, yes.
Hello, my name is Claudette. Hello,
We can hear you.
yes.
Yeah,
So my name is Claudette, and I noticed neither 4 of you mentioned that at any time when you're about to start a business, if you were scared or not. How do you start? I have a few things that I love. I do them, I think I do them well, because people are always saying, you should do this, you should do business with this, you're so good. And I get passionate about it, I stay up all day, all night doing it. But then when I look at the market, and I'm an African-American woman, I have a steady job, and then I'm like, what do I do? Do I start? If it fails, what do I do? And you guys just seem so confident from the beginning. Is something wrong with me?
No, I was extremely, especially with me, I literally cashing in my 401k. It was scary, and business is so scary. When I have a slow week, and my business is successful, but I'll have a slow week, and inside of, I know that it's, it's business, you have slow weeks here and there, but I still get that, okay, so now I'm like, okay, what I need to do is, we have to do better next week, and this has to do better, because oh my God, we were down 30% last week, that's gonna happen, and you panic, and I still do, but in the beginning, the fear was there. It was there, because the first year, it wasn't successful the first year. I mean, I remember, just kind of like, I love to dine out, but I remember just always, I was home eating crackers and cheese, and it just kind of like, the first year was so hard and so scary, and you were like, did I make the right choice? Is this the right thing that I'm doing? But my passion for what I wanted was much larger than my fear. Like, my passion overruled it. So I was fearful, but I kept going and I kept going. So it's just really more believing in what you want and what you want to achieve. But the fear is going to be there. I think if you're not fearful, something's wrong.
Exactly. I actually felt a little different. I wanted it so desperately, and I knew what I had was such a good product. Unfortunately, I don't know what no means, and the desire, I wanted it so desperately that I knew that I would do whatever it took to make it happen. So there was no fear there. There was lots of excitement. There was, it was a lot of excitement, and the passion drove me, and not knowing what no means. So for me, it was a little different. I wanted it so desperately that there was nothing that was from having it.
I think with me, it's a little bit different too. I think there's always a fear in starting a business, but then there's the fear, what if you don't, right? I remember when I was on Wall Street, and I had this great job, and everybody was like, wow, Fred, you're so successful at this job. And I remember thinking to myself, and other people that had been there a lot longer than me, they were like, listen, these places over here, if you're black, you're just really not gonna go too far here. I know you feel really, really good right now. I know the checks look really good, but this is the reality, right? And so there's a lot of my colleagues didn't believe that. They thought that they were gonna be different, whatever. When they told me that, I believed it. I was like, yep, they're gonna, at some point, I'm gonna be fired. So every day when I went to work, I had that fear, like, any minute now, my job's gonna be over, right? So when I would go to work, and I would save my money. Like, people would go out to the club, they'd pop bottles. I would take every penny that I had and I was saving it, because I was like, I gotta get out of here before they fire me. And And so when I left and I started the company, yeah, there was fear about, you know, what I felt, what was going to be there, but it was nothing compared to the fear of me sitting there every day doing the best job that I could, knowing at any moment they could take my job and say, get out, you know, do that. So, you know, because I saw it like that, it doesn't, you know, it feels a lot safer being an entrepreneur, I guess, in a weird way.
Well, for me, it was just that desperate need to make a change. I wanted to make a difference so much that fear, I didn't spend too much time on it. Again, it goes back to the passion. If you want it so badly, somehow you'll overcome that fear, and you just, once you get into it and you start doing it, somehow it all works out. But it's very human to be afraid, to worry about it.
Yeah.
But if you want it, again, the passion part of it will help you get through, yes.
And just know, working for yourself, you're going to work much harder than you do working for someone else. You put in twice the amount of time, like you said, it's nonstop. So it's not easy. It's not, you know, I work for myself, it's going to be easy. You're going to work so much harder than you do working for someone else.
Wow. Well, I want to thank our panel for coming up and being very candid about being an entrepreneur, but also talking about the passion that you feel when you do finally achieve your goals. So thank you so much, Siamanda, Karen, Fred, and Debra. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, panel, we're going to get you up for some photos, please.
Sure.